Hello, hello. Good morning and welcome in. Looks like we're getting some folks connected up here. Perfect. All right. Perfect.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Donna. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. How did that deal go with the power attorney situation?
It seemed like we were disconnected. I have to get her back on the phone. I've been trying to call her a few times. So I'll try again after the meeting.
I was going to say, shoot, if you got somebody to call right now, you go do that. But I know you already know that. All right, cool. Looks like we've got Oscar back in the house. Oscar, thanks for coming back, my friend.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
Perfect.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right,
How's
Oscar.
the week?
I'm gonna try
Yeah.
to pay better attention this time. I was guilty last time we were on Zoom, and I turned off the join and exit thing. And I think somebody was waiting to get into the meeting, and I didn't even realize. And it may have been your agent from last time, so I apologize.
No worries. Yeah,
As
no
far as
worries.
I was there waiting like 20 minutes. Like if he told you that, it's because that really happened. And that was my fault.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Yeah, I wanted him to just kind of, join in on this. He's a newer agent too, and I'm just trying to get him as much training and information as possible. So I appreciate you even just letting him join in on this with us.
Yeah, man, certainly. And then did you get the recording from the Zoom from last?
I did. Yep. I did get that. So I appreciate that. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Unmute
Good. How are
yourselves.
you?
Doing well.
Yeah. Let me hear some voices today. There we go.
Yeah.
Doing well,
Nice.
thank you. How about yourself?
Good to be here. Glad to be here and share another day to try to help everybody out. So, how's the week been going so far?
Oh, here we go. Got some folks that are waiting right now. So the week's been going okay. What I found, Oscar, and I'm curious to get quick feedback on you, is that we were previously, like I think for most of the month of July, doing like individual weekly and monthly competitions. But then we did like a group competition, a team competition. That seemed to be a lot more engaging, a lot more fun for people, at least from what I've noticed. So just interesting on your thoughts on that, if you've ever done that or been involved in those.
Yeah. Anytime you can motivate a group and it be a team effort, I think that it breeds, competition, good, healthy competition. It pushes each other to reach those goals and to kind of hit whatever that prize might be. So I'm a big proponent of competition within sales teams and whatever the prize might be. I used to, when I ran a big call center, we would do like monthly outings. And so we would do like Dave and Buster's or whatever it was when everybody was under one roof, and they would win like more tokens, or they would win like if we went to
Some beverages.
yeah. Sometimes we even did like casino nights, and so people would get money to gamble, and then we'd go out on a Friday or Saturday night, and it literally from 1 month to the next, it increased our sales and productivity by literally like 200-300%, right? Just because people were, all competing to try to get, a few extra bucks to go put down on the poker table or whatever we ended up doing, so
That's
certainly
cool.
that competition, I think helps. And again, it just keeps everyone just in a group working together for the same cause, right? Which eventually, like, even the people that don't win whatever the prize is, but come in second or third, like, you'll find that most of those people pushed because they were trying to get to first. And so they go further than they maybe typically would on their own. So definitely encourage it. And that's a good thing that you guys are doing for sure.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, yeah, guys, if you guys missed the prior week here with Oscar, we've graciously invited, or he's graciously returned for us, and we've invited him to come back to continue what essentially is kind of like a series, right? Where we're going over, we led with the introduction, talking about the lead, where it comes from, the mentality, how to approach the situation and attack it, right? Kind of the context, I guess you can call it. And now we're getting into the meat of it, right? We're jumping into the actual sales script, going to potentially maybe discuss objections, or at least like, what do we do when we first getting on the phone? Because that's critical, right? I mean, just getting past that first 5 minutes of the conversation, it tends to lead to good things, right? I can't close them if we can't keep them on the phone, kind of thing. So interested to hear your take on it, Oscar, how you and your team and your experience approach that. For context, we're using the DIG script, right? And so anybody, if we're kind of getting off script of the things, we still are going to stick to the same tried and true script that we have, right? It's proven to be very successful. But hopefully I'm sure there's going to be some takeaways here specifically from Oscar that we can all learn and gain something from today. So thank you again, Oscar.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I love being a part of these things. Anything that can help you guys grow helps us grow. And I love training. I really love having these sessions and getting into this stuff, because it is the difference maker, right? Like having these sessions with me, anybody else that can give you insights is super, super powerful, guys, for the purpose of getting better, right? And improving ourselves. And even if you're a veteran, even if you've been doing sales for 20, 30 years, like there's always things to learn, right? I learn stuff every day just from following people online, right? People like Jeremy Miner, just all kinds of people that are out there that you just never know. I just picked up something last week in a training that I did, and an agent mentioned a one-liner, and I'll give it to you guys today because I thought it was so powerful. I thought it was such a great like closing line, and I had never used it. And when he said it, it just like went off, and I was like, wow, why haven't I said that before? So now I've actually implemented it into my sales team, and I'm continuing to spread that word. And listen, I've been doing sales since I was 15 years old. I'm 43, so we learn every single day, and I think the first thing is having that approach and being able to know that you don't know everything, right? Doesn't matter how long you've been doing whatever you've been doing. You can always pick up new things, new strategies, new ways to say something. So I ask you to come into these trainings with an open ear, with an open heart, and take away whatever can benefit you and use it. Turn around and take action on it. Because a lot of times people will hear things in trainings, they'll sit through them, and then they go back to doing the same things that they were doing because it's comfortable for them, because it's what they're used to doing, because sometimes it is a little bit tough to kind of reach outside of our comfort zone and try new things. A lot of you, I think, are in here are new to this just as a whole. And so good for you for taking the risk, for taking it and putting this on yourself. So continue that same momentum of learning, expanding, and taking what you learn and putting it into action. So yeah, look, let's get right into it. I know that I have the pitch here. So what I'll do is I'm just going to share my screen and just kind of put the pitch front and center, because I think that's what we're gonna go into today. And I'm not looking to make changes to the script, because as JD said, this is a proven script that's working out there. And you guys are using it. So my goal is here not to confuse you or give you a bunch of stuff that you're going to be like, oh my God, what do I do now? What I want to do is just give you my insight on how I would go through this pitch with somebody, putting my own feel and flavor to it, which I think is very important. Because the pitch is just direction, right? Go here, go here, go here, go here. But the pitch, in essence, is not you, right? You and each and every one of you, even though you might be saying word for word what's on that pitch, it's going to sound very, very different every time somebody says it. And that's because we're all different, right? We all have a different way of saying things. Our tone of voice are different. Our aggressiveness on the phones are different from others. Some people, I'll say this before we get into it, and we talked a little bit about this last week, right? The tone of your voice and understanding when you need to shift your tone and slow yourself down. And by doing those things, you're going to exude a sense of concern, a sense of, I'm listening to you. I want to hear what you're saying, prospect or lead. And then there's times when you need to speed things up, when you need to take over the conversation and have a faster tone, a more aggressive tone. I have found that in sales, people can be successful just about any type of personality that you have, right? There are extremely successful salespeople that are monotone. They sound the same every single line that they say, one after another. I'm not that type of person, but there are very successful people out there because in that monotone voice, people find trust, right? If that person isn't up and down and all over the place, it's just like a machine. There are people that are very receptive to that. Just the same, there's people like myself where you hear my tone of voice changes. I use my hands a lot when I talk, and even when I'm on the phones, right? Not just in a video call, but just when I'm on the phone with someone, you'll see me constantly moving my hands and changing my position because that's how I feel comfortable, and that's how I feel that I best deliver what I'm trying to say somebody on the phone. So what I say that for to you guys is you have to find your own way, right? Especially the new people, and in particular, the ones that have never done sales, right? Where this is like a brand new field. I'm just getting into sales. You have to find your own way, and that's going to take repetition, right? That's the only way that you're going to get to finding the best version of you as a salesperson is by taking the shots one after another, right? And I always try to relate sales to sports because it's extremely close to one another. And so anytime you see people that are out there, superstars in any sport, doesn't matter what sport you're in, just about every single person that is an all-star player in any sport, it's hours and hours of repetition, right? If they're a pro golfer, they've hit 1,000 swings before they go on and play around, right? If it's a basketball player, they might spend an hour or two hitting jump shots before the game starts. It's no different in sales. That's why it's so relatable. The more repetitions that you can take, the more times that you can spit out the pitch, the better you're going to get and the better you're going to find what works for you. Am I good at a jump shot? Am I good at driving the ball? Am I good at taking, a 30-yard pitch shot? What am I actually really good at in the sale? And when you find those things, those are the things that you lean heavy on when you're in the sales flow and in the sales call. Okay. So just a little info on that. So let's just get right into it. Let me share my screen with the script.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, Oscar, how to give you full disclosure here.
Please.
Dennis just dropped a $1,200 policy this morning, and everybody was throwing kudos for him on Slack. So,
come on, man. Dennis, that's huge. Huge, man. Now, Dennis, new agent or veteran agent?
Right now, we call him the Rainmaker.
Oh, man. I tell you,
man.
Dennis, man. Drop it on.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I've been around for not a long time, since 2019, selling property and casualties. First time really just selling life fund expense.
Fantastic. Okay. But look, once a salesman, always a salesman, right? Like wherever you came from, you've applied what you're doing. Man, that's a juicy one too. That $1,200 policy. Make sure you stay on that person. Make sure you follow up with that person over the next couple of days. Stay on them, right? Because just as good as it is to write that deal, it's even better to make sure that they retain and that they stay on the book. So I was always when I was on the phone selling insurance, I made sure, especially those bigger policies, I always made sure that I followed up with those people in a few days. Hey, how are things going? I thought about you again, just wanted to call you, let you know that your policy is all ready to go. You should have it in the coming weeks. just kind of stay in front of them. Because remember, if they filled out the lead form, that means that they probably either filled out another lead form or
Mhm.
are still seeing ads for burial insurance. So you don't want anybody to come in and swoop that thing away from you. So it's really important, especially those bigger policies, that you just stay in contact with that person for the first few weeks. And I believe we have some in the CRM. You guys have automations that should trigger follow-ups to close deals, and text messages throughout the year. If you have like the birthday, the person's date of birth in there and all that information, it'll send them a birthday text. It'll send them holiday text messages, Happy 4th of July, Happy Merry Christmas, all that stuff. So retention is just as important. But man, great job hitting that deal. So let's get it. And this was obviously off of the script that we're looking at on the screen, correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So here it is, right? It's proven, it works. And like JD said, David's team uses this, and they're doing literally millions of dollars in business. So this is a proven true script that you guys can be confident in. You don't have to question whether this works or not. This isn't something that just somebody just came up with. This is something that's being used right now. So that's a really important thing, right? Especially for you new guys, because new people, it's in general, right? When we don't know something, we question it, right? When we don't know the ins and outs of something, we question it. Just like we talked about last week, understanding where a lead comes from, how that person fills it out. And when you don't know those things, it leaves our mind at a place where we can come up with assumptions, most of the time negative assumptions that take us out of the game. So here, you guys can feel 100% confident, like, man, people are writing millions of dollars off of this script. You have coworkers and people around you that are closing deals. Lean on this. Lean on it, make it your own, and use it, okay? So getting right into this, right? So opener, keep them on the phone. Obviously, that's the number one thing, right? We need to keep people on the phone in order to be able to sell them insurance. So I'm going to go right into this thing, right? And this is how I would introduce myself. This is how I would go into it. And I'll stop after every section. I'll give you my 2 cents on it and just ask questions. Guys, I said this last time. I want to hear questions. I want to hear feedback today from you guys. I want you guys involved into this training. It lets me know that you guys are taking the information and that you're going to go apply it. So let's get right into this. Hey, John, this is Oscar calling you on a recorded line with Final Expense with the Final Expense price quote you requested on Facebook. You were looking into options for Final Expense life insurance, and I see that your zip code is 12345. Is that correct? Right? Person says yes. John, is this for yourself or for a loved one? They're going to say yes or no. And how long have you been looking? Right? So those are the first 3 questions. These are the 3 questions that you're capturing the person and taking control of the conversation, right? This is a chess game, right? And you hear this a lot in sales, but this is a game, this conversation that you're having with someone. And either they're beating you by getting off the phone and not giving you a sale, or you're beating them by getting the sale from them. So the control in the conversation starts right here. The moment that you say, I see your zip code is 12345. Is that correct? You have taken the lead of the conversation. And from this point on, it's your job to control the conversation throughout the entire time. Now, that doesn't mean speak over them. That doesn't mean ramble. That means that no matter what the person answers and says to a question that you have, you're going to revert and get back to what you need to do, which is continue taking this person along the road of the sale and following the pitch. Okay. So first thing I'll say here, you notice how my voice drops and slows down right as I get into it. So I'm going to read it one more time. This is the first time me reading this to you guys. So I'm going to read it one more time so that you can hear my tone and how it shifts and goes up and down. Hey, John, this is Oscar calling you on a recorded line with the final expense price quote that you requested on Facebook. You were looking into options for final expense insurance, and I see that your zip code was 12345. It should say is. I see your zip code is 12345. Is that correct? Right? So I come in strong, right? And the reason why I start strong and fast is because I want to get my name out. I want to get my name. I want to get them, and I don't want to get hung up on, right? So I come in quick, I come in aggressive, and I come in clear. And then I quickly slow it down, right? I see your zip code was 12345. Is that correct? Right? I've slowed myself down. And now I confirm that information. Now, the next question, is this for yourself or a loved one? They're either going to say myself or a loved one. And this is one of the great things about this pitch. And any good pitch has questions that result in yes or no, or A or B. You can never allow open-ended questions in a pitch, more importantly, in the beginning of a pitch. Because if the question is open-ended, they're going to ramble and go somewhere else. I just need you to give me A or B, A or B. And if you can do that throughout the entire pitch, again, we go back to it, you've controlled the conversation and the person has just been dancing with you, right? They've just been going right along with you, answering the questions, going back and forth. So is this for yourself or a loved one? Here, they're going to say, it's for myself. It's essentially all policies are for our loved ones, right? Because we're buying them for our family. But here is really good that we're starting to talk about our loved ones, right? Not beneficiary, because that sounds very like mechanical, right? And like there's no emotion to it. It's a loved one, right? It's a family member, which I said last week is really important that we dig into those things and that we bring out the pain points and the emotions that somebody has about their family, leaving them burdened, all these things that happen when they pass, right? So is this for yourself or for a loved one? Well, it's for myself, but it's for, it's for my kids. It's for my family. And how long have you been looking, right? That's the very next question. Now, a couple things that I would do here is you're going to follow this script. Guys, don't be afraid to enhance a little bit, right? To put yourself out in this part. So what I mean by that is I see your zip code is 12345. Is that correct? Yeah, that's right. I might have their city. So I might comment on it, right? So maybe it's Dallas, maybe it's in Dallas. So I might say to them, oh, you're in the Dallas area. Is that correct? Right? I need to open up the conversation. I need to connect with this person. So anything that I can enhance on to make them feel more comfortable, I'm going to use it. Oh, that's in the Dallas area, right? Yeah, that's right. Awesome. You know what? I was in Dallas last year. I had I had a training there that we did. What a great area. How about the heat out there, right? Just something to connect. I think it's really important. Some of you will do it as you get more comfortable. These are things that you can start opening up to, right? How is it out there today, right? We're in the middle of August, right? We're in August. If I'm talking to somebody in Dallas, I might say, man, are you sweating right now? Because I'm from South Florida and I know how bad it is out there during the summer, right? We're away. We're done, right? I've led the conversation somewhere else. We're now connecting, right? I'm connecting with this person. And that doesn't mean be cheesy, right? That doesn't mean be like awkward. It's just a conversation that I'm having. I know it's hot as hell in Dallas right now, right? We all know that. And anywhere they are, anywhere that you can relate and enhance on this process, I recommend you do. So they'll say, yes, that's correct. I'm in Dallas. Yeah, it's hot as hell out here right now. Awesome. And John, is this for yourself or is it for a loved one? And I'm going to stop and pause. And they're going to say, it's for myself. Man, it's great. I talk to so many people every day, John, and gosh, some of them don't ever get a chance to lock something in for their family. So I commend you for actually taking this first step. Now, how long have you been looking? Right? I added a little something. I gave them a little feel good. Man, great job on taking this initiative to protect your family. By the way, how long have you been looking? Right? So that's how I would do this pitch, because that's how I talk to people. That's how I conversate and build rapport. And that's how I know that after a few minutes, if you're still on the phone with me, we're going to do business. If you have the money to do the business, if you have the means to protect, and I find that there is a need, right? You have a family that you need to protect. You are older. You haven't set something up. Gosh, it's going to be very difficult for John to get off the phone with me without giving me a credit card and buying life insurance for their family. And that should be the mentality that you guys have. And that confidence obviously builds the more pitches you get out, right? The more times you do this, the more you're going to feel that feeling that I have. And if you hear it in my voice, it's real, guys. If you have a need and you're on the phone with me, I am going to sell you. There's very little that you're going to be able to do to not get sold by me, right? And that's my attitude going into every single conversation. And people feel that in a good way. Not like I'm pushy, but like, man, this guy, who is this guy? He's coming out of nowhere. He's connecting with me. He knows everything that he's talking about. How could I not do business with this person? Which is ultimately the feeling that you want someone to have on the other end of the phone, right? Gosh, how can I not do business with this person? They've connected with me. They know everything there is to know about this product that I need. And they're professional. They're knowledgeable. They've taken me through everything. There is nothing else for us to do here than to actually just get this deal done, right? So how long have you been looking? Now it says, go to initial questions to determine policy or not. Okay. So they're going to tell you, I've been looking for, 30 days. I just started, or I've been looking for 8 months. That question is very, very important. And the reason it's important is because you're going to identify with that question if somebody is a tire pusher, right? If somebody is just there to listen and hear another person talk about life insurance, they know they need it, but they're not buying. There's a lot of people like that out there, right? That are just tire pushers. So if you talk to somebody and say, well, I've been looking for 8 months, that's a red flag, right? That's something that immediately you're going to wonder in yourself, well, what are you doing, right? 8 months? There really aren't that many options to shop around for life insurance, right? Like, do you need it? Do you have a family? Cool. Here are the carriers. Here are the options. It doesn't take 8 months to make a decision and buy life insurance. So this question is going to be a real teller as to who you're on the phone with and the amount of work that you might actually need to do to convert that person. I take on a challenge, right? I know that if somebody says to me, well, no, I've been looking for 6 months, man, I'm going to have to hammer this person, right? I'm going to have to give them the left, right hook a bunch of times to break them down and put them in a place where they can identify and see that, man, what are you doing, right? You've been sitting and looking for 8 months. What are you missing to make the decision? And these are the hard questions that I will ask somebody if I identify these things, because sometimes people just need to be put in their place, right? To see that, man, what am I doing? Why have I not been waiting? Because in 8 months, that person could have died and their family is now stuck paying that bill, right? Again, something else that I will say to that person, because, and I'll say this, the reason why I want to say those things to people and put them in those places is because I'm not afraid to lose it, right? If you're afraid to lose a deal, then you're going to lose the deal. Remember that. If you're afraid to lose the business or to lose the call, you will likely lose the call. If you're not afraid, then you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to put people in positions very uncomfortably, right? Where they're going to really question why they haven't made a decision. And they're either going to break and move forward or they're not. if you put people in those uncomfortable situations and you're willing to lose the sale in doing so, then the person who doesn't convert was never a sale. So you didn't lose anything, right? Does that make sense, right? Like some of these people are just not going to buy. And so by you risking and putting yourself out there, again, I relate stuff to sports. I consider poker a sport. And in the game of poker, you have to be willing to bet, right? And put risk on the table, knowing that you might have nothing to back it up. Because what you're doing is you're trying to put somebody in a position that lets you know whether they are going to take action or not. The same thing happens in sales, right? I'm willing to put this deal on the line to find out how serious you really are about protecting your family. And again, the people that don't convert at that point, they were never a deal. So you didn't lose anything. You gained so much in those moments because you learn that, gosh, I can actually push a little bit harder than I'm pushing. I can actually put all my chips in the middle and see if this person will put their chips in the middle, and we'll see who's going to win here, right? So it's going to push you to get yourself out there. So don't be afraid to lose deals, guys. Okay, now this says go into initial questions to determine the policy or no policy. So let me click on that. Okay, don't ask. So how long have you been, right? So you just asked, how long have you been looking? Now the person's going to say, again, whatever time frame. You're going to follow it up with, fantastic, right? Great, whatever time frame it is. Let me just see. Don't ask this if they have a policy. Do you currently have anything in place? Okay, perfect. So they're going to say, we asked them, how long have you been looking? Just started a couple weeks ago. Okay, great, John. And if I can ask you, do you currently have something in place? Right? I slow down, right? I'm slowing down a little bit because when I slow down my tone and I start talking a little bit like this, people feel that you are listening, right? That you're paying attention. It's not just, well, do you currently have something in place? That's very different from, hey, John, well, can I ask, do you currently have anything in place? Right? The tone of my voice is curious, right? I want to know about this. Tell me about it. So use that tone of voice when you're here. They're going to say yes or no. No, I don't have anything. Okay. So we follow it right along. If policy, yes. Okay. Were you looking for some, and I'm just going to read it first and then I'll kind of regurgitate it. So, okay. Were you looking for some additional coverage or to see if you qualify for a lower monthly payment or both? Okay. Perfect. Well, you're definitely in the right place. Just the last week, I had a client say same exact thing. Okay. So if they say yes, okay, John, were you, and again, curiosity, right? Listen to my tone. Okay. And John, were you looking for some additional coverage or just to see if you qualify for a lower monthly payment or maybe even both? Which one was it? Right? So that's a very different tone, right? And you want to sound curious. You want to sound like you care what that person is going to say, because it could also be very different. And you'll hear people on the phone, especially new people, you're nervous, you don't know what's going on. You're like, oh my God, where do I go next? And you'll say something like, okay, were you looking for some additional coverage or to see if you qualify for a lower payment or both? Right? You see the difference in that? Let me read it to you how I read it. Okay, and John, just out of curiosity, like, were you looking for some additional coverage or to see if you qualify for a lower monthly payment or maybe even both? Which one was it, John? There's a huge difference in that delivery. And if you're delivering in a nervous way or rambling, then right here, you're going to start disconnecting from this person. Right here, the person is going to start putting up their guard because you're just asking questions like a telemarketer, right? You're just asking a survey question. And it's very important that we know, and you have this feeling when you're in a pitch that You guys are not order takers, right? We're not the waiter at PF Chang's, right? I'm not here to bring you a Coca-Cola and take your order. So I can't sound that way. I have to sound concerned. I have to start building the connection right from the beginning of this thing so that they understand that I am the professional, that I am concerned about them and what they have to say, and that the things that I am going to tell them are extremely important in them making a decision, right? That's what you're trying to exude when you're going through this in the way that I do. Okay, so now we go there. Perfect. Well, you're definitely in the right place. I'll tell you this, John, just last week, I had a client that had the same exact thing. They had just gotten a policy, and guess what? I was able to save them $43 a month, which is a huge number, John, in final expense. Wouldn't you think? Right? I've slowed down. So if you're going to talk about like what you did with someone else, you got to emphasize, you got to make sure you're delivering it right. Again, if you read it just like if you were just reading a book, perfect. Well, you're definitely in the right place. Just last week, I had a client saying the same thing. I was able to save them $43 a month. You guys see the difference in that, right? I'm going to stop right here. Does everybody understand that difference in tone and delivery? Good, Donna. Awesome. Everybody else? Joseph, awesome. Everybody, good. Okay. Any questions on this so far, on just this first part?
Oscar, I want to jump in because what we're covering or what you're covering here this morning is exactly the information that I feel that we can use for our team, because I've listened to maybe like probably 1% or just a handful of our calls and conversations trying to do call reviews and discover where we have room for improvement. And really that's the number one area. And it's funny that you use the waiter analogy, because I've literally used that in conversation, because what I've seen or heard from our team is reading through this open air part of the script. Okay, and is this for yourself or for a loved one? For a loved one. Okay, and is this going to be a policy, and just kind of going through it like a robot? Yeah. And I want to make sure that I let everybody know you absolutely have the permission to perform the script or customize the script to make it your own. I'm not saying interject like random things or change it or move things around. I'm just saying you can play it up. And my team's probably tired of hearing me say this analogy, but it's similar to I'll just use like AC/DC for an example. I'll use this one all the time. They're playing Back in Black or Thunderstruck or whatever the song is. The way that you hear that song on the album version compared to the way that you would hear it in a live performance, right? Maybe the crowd, the way they're responding, like, oh man, this crowd is like on fire. Like they bust out and just carry off into like a 2 or 3 minute guitar solo they would have never done. But based on the response of the crowd, they have the permission there to kind of go off into the right direction, depending on the circumstances. And what I'm telling people is like the album version versus the live, like it's the same notes. It's the same lyrics. It's the same everything, but it just sounds and feels different. As such, the script, it's going to sound and feel different whether you're reading it or you are performing it. So I don't know if that makes any sense for anybody. Yeah. Again, my team is tired of hearing it, but this is massively critical and helpful for our team. So I like it.
Yeah, because like sales is acting. Right? That's all we're doing, right? If you're just new in sales, well, you need to act like you know what you're talking about to get deals. And if you're already good at sales, I need to act like I really, really care, like this person means the world to me. Because if I can act that way and give that feeling off, then I'm going to build the connection, right? Somebody, and I might have said this before, but nobody is looking for life insurance, right? Certainly not on social media, right? And people don't buy life insurance. People get sold life insurance, okay? Because it's one of those things that all of us put off. And unless we are put in a real place where we see the real need and act on it, most of us don't. And a lot of people that do act on it comes from something that happens around their life, right? I think Joseph, who's in this training, who's my agent, he just yesterday on a conversation I had with him, he said, hey, I actually have my aunt who wants to get final expense because her best friend just died. She's 40 years old, right? Really, 40 years is a little young for final expense. But the point is that a life event caused her to now react and say, my God, I could die tomorrow too. And who's going to pay for this stuff? Right? It's that emotion. But shy of that happening, Joseph's aunt probably would have gone another 5 or 10 years without even contemplating the idea of life insurance. But someone dies next to them, and all of a sudden, man, I need to get this done like ASAP. So the reason I say that is you have to build the emotion with folks. You have to connect with this person. And if you are just reading this line by line, it's not going to work. Now, when you're new, you really don't have anything else to do but read this thing line by line, right? So I sympathize with you if you're new, because if you're new, you're just trying to get through this thing, right? You're like, oh my God, again, like I said before, where do I go next? Where am I going now? Yes, no, shit, right? And there's so many things going on in your head that all you really know how to do is just read, right? And that will only get better by taking the repetitions, by taking the swings, by taking the shots. Because after you do this 4 or 5 times, you're going to loosen up a little bit, right? You're going to feel, well, I've already read this. Now I know where to go. Like even me right now, it's tough because I've never read this pitch, right? So I have to, in the moment, as I'm training you guys, figure out how I'm going to digest the information and then spit it back out and act as if I know this pitch front and back. I don't, but I'm going to act like I do because that's the task that's at hand. And I'm going to fumble, right? And you guys are going to fumble with people. And that's okay too. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to get it out, and you need to repeat and repeat and repeat. It's the only way you're going to get better. So if you're new out there and you know that you're one of the people that you're just kind of reading this thing and going line by line, that's okay. You're new. But understand and start working on letting go a little bit, loosening up. Pretend, again, and a lot of that fear comes from, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. Oh my God, they're going to hang up on me. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to close this. Oh my God, right? Let go of it. Let go of the fear of losing the deal. What happens if you do? If they hang up on you, or if right there you lose it? I'll tell you exactly what happens. 2 things. Number 1, you're going to feel that, right? And go, shit, I lost that person. And then you're going to get back on the phones and you're going to keep dialing. And number 2, you're going to quickly, right, identify that, man, I lost it because I just sounded monotone, right? You're going to like see and understand the more repetitions you take. If somebody's hanging up on you or you're losing people right here or in the beginning of a call, you're going to start identifying that it's the way you're talking. It's the way you're delivering. It's what you're not doing, right? How you're not connecting. Remember, this is just a roadmap. You still have to be yourself. You still have to talk to the person on the other end of the phone as if you were talking to a friend, right? Because if you're talking to your friend about life insurance, like right now, if you go and you call a friend of yours and you start talking about what you're doing now and you're selling life insurance, and they say to you, man, that sounds interesting. Maybe I need this. You're going to pitch that person like you've never pitched anybody before because you're comfortable, because it's somebody that you know on the other end of the phone, and because you know that you can fumble and make mistakes, they're your friend. You should take that approach with every single person that picks up the phone. Talk to them like they're your friend. You see, again, the introduction that I make, right? I'm connecting. Are you in Dallas? Man, it's hot as hell over there, isn't it? I'm sweating over here in South Florida. I'm just going to connect with this person and try to have a normal conversation as I go through this pitch line by line. Okay. Again, you're going to get better at this. You just got to keep doing it. You got to keep taking the repetitions, right? So, and by the way, the other part of asking questions just like that, where it's just like, just one after another, right? Like you're just a telemarketer. What you're doing when that happens, when you start the conversation, here's where you are, right? Here you are. Here's the prospect. As the pitch starts, you're either going to go here or you're going to go here, right? And what I mean by that is if the person on the other end of the phone perceives you as just some telemarketer that's asking them questions, then you're going here. And they will never be able to trust, right? Or look at you as a figure, as a presence in the business, as somebody that knows what they're talking about, as an expert in the field, right? Because you're here, you're below them. You're just a telemarketer that's going through questions. They're just waiting for the moment to hang up on you, right? The goal in a sales call is for you throughout the pitch to go here and here and here and here. And by the end of it, the person's looking up at you and you're looking down, right? You are the expert. This person is looking at you for guidance and what to do next. And when you're here, you've gained the sale. You've won, right? Because whatever you tell this person to do here underneath you, they're going to do. You've converted them, right? So it's very important, guys, that you're not just reading this stuff, because by reading it, you're going here and here and here. And this person is just waiting. Man, I got to get off the phone with this person. I don't even know what you're asking me, but I got to go. Bye. Right. And that's what you get sometimes here. If you guys are doing that, that's when you get, well, what do you have for me? Well, what's the price? Well, I just want to know what it costs. If you're getting those things here, you're too monotone. You're not stopping. You're not connecting with the person. So these are the changes that you need to make. Okay. Questions on this? Because we didn't allow questions. Anybody have questions on tone, on any of this first part? Awesome. No one's got questions. Everyone's ready to rock. Okay, let's keep going. If you have questions, stop me, please. Okay, make sure you unmute yourself and just holler at me as I'm talking. Okay, so, so we talked about this. Now we go into here, right? So I just told this person, hey, I had a client, last week, John, I had the client say the same exact same thing, right? They had just gotten life insurance, and guess what? I was able to save them $43 a month, which is a huge amount in a final expense policy. Wouldn't you agree, John? Right? They're going to say yes, right? Because $43 is a lot of money per month for a person on fixed income who's over the age of 50 or 60. So they're always going to say yes to that. Well, John, look, let's cut to the chase, right? And get this done for you. And by the way, was your policy a 2-year wait to kick in? Right? And it says wait. And was there an accidental coverage with that? So these are 3 questions here. Very great, very good questions to somebody who has a policy. I don't know how you perceive this here, but the way I see this when I read it, the wait is telling me to wait but continue. So I might actually, if I don't know this, I might just blabber the rest of the questions here, versus like actually pause and let them answer. Go ahead, JD.
Yeah, brother. I think we need to slide down. The presentation still showing the opener.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see. I'm sorry. I have it open in 2 places.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Sorry, guys. I'm here. Everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let me go through this again. So if the person says yes to the question, then I'm going through this, right? Okay. And John, were you looking for some additional coverage, or just to see if you maybe qualify for a lower monthly payment, or gosh, maybe even both? Which one is it? So I would always ask, or both, which one is it, right? I want to give a clear direction to the person to give me an answer. And I'll say one more thing. Don't be scared to repeat words. Again, sounding concerned. Like if you notice there, I said, were you looking for some additional coverage or like to see if you qualify, or maybe for like a lower monthly payment, or John, maybe even both, right? I'm curious. I want to know about this. So I want to make sure I deliver that. Perfect, John. Well, look, I can tell you, you're definitely in the right place. Just last week, I had a client say the same exact thing to me, that they had just gotten the policy and they were good to go. And guess what, John? I was able to save that person $43 a month, which is huge in final expense. Wouldn't you agree, John? Right? That's how I would deliver that there. I'm stopping. I'm emphasizing on the amount of money I saved. I said the word huge, right? I dragged it out. And if you guys don't follow somebody called Jeremy Miner, I highly recommend you go follow him. Maybe some of you know who he is. He's a big sales coach on social media. His sales trainings are incredible, right? And the tonality that you hear in my voice comes from me doing his trainings. Okay. So if you don't follow that, that's somebody that you should follow and listen to his coaching calls. He's got some great stuff on social media. He talks a lot about tonality and how you speak words and extending words and repeating words, which sound like, why is this person repeating the word? But it's that curiosity, right? You're building up a question with somebody. And it is, guys, like, it is so important. I can't stress to you enough how important tonality and voice changes and ups and downs are in sales, especially telesales. Because again, this person's not in front of us. You can't read the person like you can if you're face to face. So all you have to sell your product or service is your voice, and how you use it is so important. Okay. So go look that guy up and listen to some of his trainings on at night and, whenever you have time. Okay. So look, John, let's cut to the chase, and I want to get this done for you. And by the way, was your policy a 2-year wait? Right? You see how I say that? Like, oh my God, don't tell me it's that, right? That's how I want to say that, because nobody wants a 2-year wait on their policy, right? It's the last thing they want. Some people, that's the only option they have. But some people get put into these policies without really even needing them, right? Believe it or not, there's companies out there and agents out there that just put them in guaranteed issue policies because they're fast, right? I can get through an application in 10 minutes with this person. And yeah, they're going to have a 2-year wait, but I'm going to get through the application, sell the deal, and move on to the next. So there's a lot of people out there that get put on policies that are 2-year waits that shouldn't be on them. By the way, another example is they might have spoken to somebody that doesn't have other carriers to offer, and the only product that they could get that person was a 2-year waiting period. One of the beauties about you guys working in the agency that you're in is the ability to have different products to choose from. And that's going to help you guys tremendously, especially when you're going up against someone that just wrote a deal, right? Or somebody that got a policy and that's what they got. So you want to pique the interest. And that's what you're doing here. And by the way, John, gosh, was the policy that you got, was that one of those 2-year waitings or 2-year wait to kick in? Right? Man, whoa, man. And if they say yes, it's like, ooh, that's what I'll say. If they say, yes, it is, I will immediately, you'll hear it. I'll go, ooh, okay, well, gosh, this is something to really look at, right? Concerned, right? What do you mean you got yourself into this? Wait a second. We got to take this step back because maybe you don't need this, right? That's the point that you're trying to deliver in that question. So then it says wait meaning like let them talk, right? Don't go into the next question. Stop and wait for them to answer, because they're going to tell you. If they say no, it's not a 2-year waiting period, no problem. And you continue. Okay, great, John. And was there an accidental coverage with that? Most people are going to say, I don't know, which is what you actually want in this question, right? You want people to say, well, accidental coverage. No, I don't. Should I have that? Maybe I should have. What is that? Right? So that's the point of that question. It's to pique interest on somebody that already has a policy, but give you an opportunity to talk about something that perhaps an agent didn't talk to them about, and give you an opportunity to reassess the policy that they bought. Okay. So now if they say, yes, it is a 2-year waiting, again, deliver something immediately. Ooh, gosh. Okay. All right. Well, look, we're going to look into this, because maybe you don't need a 2-year waiting period, right? That's if somebody says yes to 2-year waiting period, that's what I would say right after that. Whether I can get them off a 2-year waiting period or not, that is my in to have the opportunity to see if there is another product that I can offer them, right? So doesn't matter what you'll be able to offer them or not. Right now, the only thing that matters is getting their guard down and allowing you the opportunity to pitch them on a better policy if perhaps one is there for them. There might not be one there for them, right? You might get to the questions and start doing all the stuff, and you get to the point where, yeah, this person's, they're 6 months from dying, right? Like, you know what, John, man, I appreciate your time that you've given me today. You're actually in a good policy, and we've done the due diligence, and now you can rest assured, John, that there isn't something better for you out there. I've done my job, and the agent that you worked with did theirs. I wish you the best of luck. See you later. Right? And that's how you would end a call like that. But at least you got the opportunity to see if there was something better for them out there, and an opportunity for you to write a deal. Okay. So now if they say no, right? If they say no, I don't have a policy. Amazed, quieter tone. Wow. Well, there is a specific reason why, and I'm going to read it just first. Well, there is a specific reason why you haven't got something in place. What's been holding you back from getting a policy? Okay, good. So let me go back just real quick here. As well, it's a smoker. Okay, these are different questions. Okay, so we go here. Okay, right. So, yeah, if they say, no, I don't have something set up, again, you can say, wow, you can have some sort of reaction to it. Ooh, okay. Oh, wow, okay, right? Almost like you're jabbing them. Right? You're giving them, that's what you're doing there. You're giving them a little jab, like, boom. Yeah, you don't have something? Ooh, jab, right? Because, right, as we go through this sales process, we talked about that this is a chess game. This is a game, a boxing match, whatever you want to relate it to. You are breaking this person down. You have to break the person down, right? And some people might say, well, that sounds aggressive. I don't want to break people down. But that's what you're doing when you sell them something like this. In order for you to sell them what you have to sell, you have to break down their barriers. You have to break down the fact that they don't know who you are and they don't trust you. You have to break down the fact that they probably think that they can qualify for the lowest price possible, even though they're a diabetic with insulin and they're missing 2 legs, right? Like, we all feel like we should be getting the best that's out there. Well, if you're trying to sell somebody a policy and that person thinks that they should be getting a certain rate or a certain type of policy, when in fact they're not qualified for that, and you don't break that down, you're never going to sell them anything, because they're always going to be under the assumption that there's something better out there for them. They're always going to think, well, this guy just doesn't know what he's talking about, which goes in line with this, right? If you're here, you're never going to be able to break them down. If you're here, you will certainly be able to break them down. So all these things really match and go together, guys, right? So it's a jab, right? No, I don't have anything set up. Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, it's okay. So the important thing about breaking something down with someone is a roller coaster, right? You break them down, you build them back up. You break them down, you build them back up. So I might jab you, right, with, ooh, wow, I can't believe you don't have anything set up. Well, the great news is that that's what I'm here for, right? I broke you down, now I'm building you back up. And that process of breakdown, build up, breakdown, build up, breakdown, build up leads to a sale, right? Leads to you controlling the conversation, leads to you being here versus being here. So it's really important, right? So let's follow this along. It says, wow, well, there is a, here, I'm giving them a double jab, right? Because I say, wow, okay, well, John, is there any specific reason why you haven't gotten something in place? Jab, right? I'm jabbing you in the face. Like, why haven't you done something? That's basically what I'm saying. In a nicer way, I'm saying like, well, why are you being an irresponsible parent, right? That's basically what you're saying when you say that. In a nice way, you're breaking them down. You're hitting them with a little jab, and they're going to respond to you, right? So again, how I say that, oh no, I don't have something set up. I don't have anything in place. Ooh, wow, okay. Well, John, I guess my next question would be like, is there a specific reason why you haven't gotten something set up? Curiosity, right? I'm not going to call you an irresponsible parent, but I am going to question why you haven't done something in a really curious way. And that's what I'm doing there. And then it says, what's been holding you back? So that might be the next thing, right? So they're going to respond. Now, this is an open-ended question, right? Is there a specific reason why you haven't gotten something in place? They're going to tell you a million reasons. Why? Because you've jabbed them, because you made them feel. That's an uncomfortable question that they're going to react to. It's going to trigger them, right? And they're either going to say, well, I just haven't had the time, or well, it's just so expensive, or whatever the reason is. Their response is typically based on you triggering them, right? Some people might even get upset. You got to be ready for that, right? You got to be ready for people to say, well, that's none of your business, right? Or, well, because I haven't felt like it. Like you don't know what the response you're going to get, which is what happens when you ask open-ended questions. So you as a salesperson, you got to be prepared to juggle that answer when it comes to you, right? So I sometimes, especially newer agents, the question maybe could be, right? Well, John, I guess my next question is like, is there a specific reason why maybe you haven't gotten something up in place up until now? Like, has it been more just financially restrained, or maybe just life has been too busy? Now I've given you two options. Now it's not an open-ended question. Now you have to give me one of the two options that I gave you, right? It's a multiple choice question. It's not whatever John wants to give me. And for newer agents, that sometimes will work a little bit better, just because, again, you can manage the response better versus an open-ended question where they might just blabber something off. And if you're not prepared, you might stumble and fall over. So that could be a way for newer agents here, where you ask the question and then you give them two answers for them to choose from. Is it that maybe life has just been so busy, or perhaps like just financially you haven't been in a place to be able to do something? Which one is it, John? And John's going to tell you, well, man, life's just been too busy. Man, John, I totally get it. You know, I have 2 kids, a wife. I know exactly how it is and what you're going through. The good news is blah, 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 right? Or, yeah, no, it's just been financial. Gosh, I know totally how it is, especially nowadays with the cost of living going up so much. Just yesterday, I was at Publix, or I was at the supermarket, and can you believe I paid $13 for a carton of eggs? It's outrageous. The good news is, John, that these programs that I have for you and that we're going to talk about here soon are specifically for folks on fixed incomes and people that want to protect their family, but it's been tough because of financial reasons. Does that make sense? Right? Do you see how I just led that person into where I want? no matter what they answer, I have a solution, right? I relate to them. Gosh, I get it, right? And it's important that you guys are doing that when you're talking to people. Whatever they say to you, relate to them as best as you can. Gosh, I totally get it, John. And here's this, and here's why I get it. And now let's move on, right? Always going back to the application. You owe whatever you say or answer to the person, you have to bring it back in. You can't ramble. You can't keep going, right? I bought a carton of eggs and then I got in line at the supermarket and it was $300. No. It's just a one. Just give them something, relate something, and then back into what you're doing, right? So, again, it says what's been holding you back from getting a policy. So if you say, what's the reason you haven't gotten something in place? It's basically the same as what's been holding you back from getting a policy, or perhaps based on their answer here, whatever they say, right? They say, no, I just haven't had the time or whatever. Then here asking them what's been holding you back, well, you just ask them why they haven't gotten something in place. So you don't necessarily want to ask the question twice, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Thumbs up if everybody makes sense. Okay, good. Okay, so, now it says engage in whatever conversation happens here and take notes and find sales leverage. Right. So relate to them and start getting into the process, right? So, okay, good. So here, so we asked that. And now where do you go here is the question, right? So now the person says, no, I haven't set something up. You relate. Gosh, I can totally get it, John. I know how things have been, especially with the cost of living going up. I know how hard it is right now. Gosh, I got 3 kids and a wife. It is not easy out here. That's why we're on the phone, John. That's why I'm here trying to help you with insurance, because I'm trying to pay my bills, right? That's a relatable thing. Like, we're all in the same struggle here, guys, right? We all have struggles one way or another. And if you can connect your struggles with theirs, you're going to break them down, right? They're going to drop the guard and they're going to continue speaking to you. Okay. So now, whatever they tell you, whatever you relate it to, look, John, so let's get you a price quote here real quick, because I know that's what you want to hear. I know that's what's important. And gosh, it's really all based on age and health. So what's your date of birth so I can verify your age, right? So again, I slowed down a little bit. I repeated myself. I kind of stuttered a little bit because I don't want to ramble, right? I want to slow things down and keep people engaged with me. Here, so what's your date of birth so I can verify your age? Here, this is a good question. You can also ask this question by saying, can you confirm your date of birth? Which gives the image that you already have it, and you just need to confirm it from them versus asking them like you don't know. Okay, so you could just make that little change. You'll find that people will spit it out quickly, right? Now, this is a great line because you're giving them what they want, right? You're telling them, hey, let's get you a price quote real quick. Man, that's all anybody wants to hear, right? If guys, I'm sure you've been on the phones and people are like, well, what's the price? I just want a quote. I'm just trying to see what this costs. What programs do you have? That's probably one of the biggest objections that you have, right? One of the biggest things that people say to you. So it's really important that that you give it to them, right? And that's what you're doing here. Hey, I'm going to get you exactly what you're looking for, but first we got to go through this. So it keeps them engaged. It keeps them interested in that quote. So this is a really good strategy, and I do like how this works, how this is laid out. Okay, so what's your date of birth, just so I can verify your age? Well, my date of birth is 5/5/69. Great, John. Now I do want to mention this, and remember that price quotes are based on age and health. So I'll ask you this real quick: do you have any mild or any major health concerns of any kind? See how I read that? I slow down. I repeat a word once or twice. I'm curious. I want to know about this stuff, right? So that's how I ask it there. And they're going to tell you, yep, I'm a diabetic. I take insulin. I, had cancer 3 years ago. Whatever they tell you, okay, particularly if it's really like major conditions, you need to sound concerned and you need to sound like you care, right? So if somebody says, well, I had cancer 3 years ago, I'm immediately going to say, my gosh, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that, John. My uncle had cancer, right? I'm relating to this person right away. I'm empathetic to something, and then I'm relating it to you so that we can continue this connection, so that you can feel that I'm just like you, John, and I'm here to help. That's what you're achieving there. So whatever they tell you, right? If it's something mild, like, well, I have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, nothing really too bad, but just kind of those things. Okay, John, that's great. Hey, I commend you for staying healthy. Most of the people that I actually talk to at your age are really dealing with some major health conditions. And gosh, it's really good to hear that you've kept yourself in pretty good health. Obviously, you have a couple of things that you're dealing with, and we'll talk about those a little bit more. Are you taking any medications for the cholesterol right now? Right? I'm going to emphasize a little bit and hear a little bit. Cholesterol, high blood pressure, stuff like that. I always will say something like, if it's cholesterol, okay, well, look, I commend you for taking care of yourself and not having major health conditions. Obviously, cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease, those are some of the largest killers in our country. So, it's really important that at the age that you're at, obviously, that you're taking your medications, that you're controlling your cholesterol, but even just as important, John, that we get something set up to protect your family, because gosh, you just never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Wouldn't you agree? What's that person going to say to that? Right? They're immediately going to think about their cholesterol, right? They're immediately going to think about that visit that they had with the doctor that told them that if they don't control their cholesterol, their arteries are getting full of plaque and eventually could lead to what's called a black widow, right? The thing that shows up in these heart diagrams, and then you have a heart attack, right? And if somebody has a high cholesterol, I have high cholesterol, so I know this. I know I went to that appointment with the doctor where he mentioned this black widow, and I was completely freaked out, right? And I ate lettuce for the next 3 months, right? So you need to use these things. Everything that they have is something to utilize and bring out the emotional side of why they should have life insurance, right? So that's how I would handle that there. Then we go into introduce yourself. So now they told me, yeah, cholesterol. I gave them a couple information, and so here I go. Look, by the way, John, I don't think I really introduced myself a whole lot, but I'll take a moment to do that. If you missed it, again, my name is Oscar, and look, obviously I'm a licensed broker here in the state of Florida. Look, I shop all 30 major insurance companies and get you qualified for the lowest monthly price. That's my job. That's what I do. I've been doing it for many years. Does that sound good? Right? And you can see, again, I slow down. I talk about what I do. I make it simple. And this is a great line. I shop all 30 major insurance companies. When I was on the phone, this was a line that I used a lot, and I would say it. And I shop all of the approved carriers in your state. Every single one of them, John, I have access to. I think it's important to say that to people, because if not, right, we talked about this before, the assumptions that we make when we don't know something. And an assumption that people make all the time when they're on the phone with you is that you might not have the best deal in town. There might be other people that I need to shop with that might have different carriers, different plans, different options for me. So I need to close that gap. I need to make sure that you know that I have access to every single carrier in your state. And it's my job to go through this with you, right? It's my job to qualify you for the lowest monthly price. So what I'll be doing is together, we'll be looking at all of your options in your state. And by the way, I have every one of them for you, right? You see how that delivers? That's going to take away the thought of like, well, shoot, does this guy actually have all the options for me? Maybe I need to talk to other people. So narrow it down, guys. Use this. This is a great line here. Emphasize on a little bit on it, right? So I'll read it one more time how I would read it. By the way, John, if you missed it, my name's Oscar. And look, obviously, and I've been doing, obviously, I'm a licensed broker here in the state of Florida, and I've been doing this for many years. I have access to every major carrier in your state, and it looks like there's about 25 or 26 of them, right? I give them that, right? Like I'm looking at it real time with them. And my job is to just get you qualified for the lowest monthly price. Does that sound fair? Does that sound good? Fair? Either one of those is going to work. Okay. So now you've narrowed in that they don't need to go shop. You are the source for them to shop, and you're going to shop together. That's the point of this sentence here. Now, if yes, health concerns. If no, health concerns. Okay. So if yes, health concerns, where do I go here? Let me see.
You just go down to the payment question right there. Yep.
Here, some carriers.
Yep.
Okay. So if they say, yes, I do have, I had cancer 3 years ago, then I go, sorry, my phone's blowing up, guys. Let me put this on do not disturb. Okay. So if yes, health concerns, some carriers take certain payment methods, others do not. So do you have a valid US bank account? Wait, if no, what type of payment card? Not visible, if not viable payment, hang up and move on. I love it. If no health issues, skip health questions. Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay. And if no health concerns, ask height, weight, please. Ask any prescriptions, major or minor. Do it from memory. Man, what is this thing doing? Sorry, guys. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to turn this off so you guys don't hear this thing going off here. But of course, I don't know how. Okay. Let me set my phone, which I think is what's going on. Okay, there it goes. All right. So, all right. So let's go into if yes. So if yes, health concerns, then you're going to go right into this. Again, you're going right into it because you need to assess quickly, is this a deal or not? And I get it, especially once you get to volume, right? As you guys start getting more volume and volume ramps up, which has been in the last few days for you guys, you're going to need to get through this quicker, right? You're going to need to identify who's a deal and who's not. And if it's not a deal, just like this says, get off the phone and move on. Don't waste time with people if they're not a deal, right? So if they say, yes, health concerns. Well, look, John, here's the plain and simple. Some carriers take certain payment methods, others don't. So one of the biggest questions that I need to verify is, do you have a valid US bank account? Don't stutter here. Don't question it. Don't feel awkward asking it. Just spit it out. This is a section where you don't stutter, you don't slow down, you go headfirst into it. Because if you stutter in a question like this, they start questioning, why did he just question himself? Is this a scam? Does he want to steal my identity? Right? All the things that, again, if we don't know, we're going to let our imagination take over. So, John, some carriers, they take certain payment methods. So others don't. So I do need to ask you to validate, do you have a valid US bank account? Right? I go, bam, right into it, loud, clear, concise. And they're going to answer. They're going to say, yes, no, why is probably a question that you get here, right? Well, why do you need that? That's a valid question, John. Remember that this is insurance that you're setting up and you're going to have to pay for it. carriers, most of them actually, believe it or not, they require a valid bank account, especially this day and age, because there's been so many different things going on. People use all different types of payments. So carriers more than ever want to give the best rates to people that have bank accounts, right? That's an easy rebuttal to why do you need a bank information, or why do I need to have a valid account?
Yeah, well, what we use, Oscar, just from the face-to-face world, and I think we can still apply it here, is like, well, it's not like the old days anymore. They don't send me over by your house to knock on your door to collect the check or collect the payment. We don't do that. So that's why they need that draft information. So that's kind of another option.
Fantastic. That's a great one. That's a fantastic one that you guys all can use. Either one of those, right? Either one of those. But just have something ready and know that the person might say why, and right then and there. Have a rebuttal to that objection ready to go. Okay. Now, if they say yes, if they say no, what type of payment? What type of payment card? Right. So if they say no, I don't have a bank account. Okay. So John, I guess my next question would be, if today, this is how I would say this here, like if today you're able to find something that works for you, how would you take care of it? How would you make sure that it's paid every month? Do you have a credit card that you would use, or help me out with that? Right? Because again, if we find something that works, how are we going to X, right? How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to set it up? So it's important, and that's a good way to transition. If they say, no, I don't have a valid bank account, and they say, well, I have a card out from Walmart that I put money into, I'm getting off the phone, right? I'm getting off the phone, right? Because you're not going to be able, that's not a deal that you're going to write. Don't take it. Don't spend time on the phone. If they don't have a valid bank account or a credit card, a valid credit card that they're going to use, you don't have a deal on your hands, even though you might have connected with this person, greatly at this point. You are not going to write that deal. So just leave it and move on. Okay. Now, if they say, yes, I do have a valid account, right? Or I do have a valid payment, then it says, if no, move on. If no, health questions. If no, skip health questions. Click here to go to shopping price range. Okay. So JD, clear this up for me. So here, if the person says, yes, I do have a bank account, am I going into health questions?
Yeah, that I forgot to back that up. So go up a little bit further. The reason why there's the if yes health or if no health is because sometimes people will say, no, I don't have anything wrong with me. Right. But the reality of it is like, oh, I just got this, just had a heart attack, 2 weeks ago. Literally, that happens like legitimately. And so if they say no health concerns, then I'm going to ask them, okay, cool. Give me your height and weight. And then tell me about any prescriptions that you're currently taking. And do it from memory means the script recommends like, hey, whatever you can recall. I personally recommend, hey, go ahead and grab that list of prescriptions. I'll wait. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, go ahead and grab it. I got it, man. Go grab your list, because some of those meds, they're crazy. I can't spell all of them. I may need your help with some of the spelling on them. Oh yeah, and so that's what we recommend. And then from there, payment question, and then boom, go straight into the health questions. Either way.
Okay, got it. Okay, so sorry, I was trying to turn off these notifications, guys. I'm in a fantasy football league, and this thing's fantasy football's about to start. And man, someone just posted a message about the draft, and now everyone's like responding. So my apologies about that. Okay, I just put DND, so now we're off. We won't hear it anymore. Okay, so good. So then we go right into, if they do have the payment question, if they do have a payment, then I'm going to go right into asking these health questions, correct?
Yeah, and by the way, for everybody who for the I guess for reference, for context here, is that during this entire time that we're going through the script, the two primary screens you want up are number one, the script, and number two, insurance toolkits, because whenever you validate the age, you type in their date of birth and you're like, oh, okay, so you're 72 years young today, huh? And then the same thing with these questions. The reason why we're asking the payment questions, because we're selecting that in insurance toolkits and the height and weight and the health concerns and the medications. we're underwriting them and putting all this information in as we move along. And then that's how we get into the health questions here next.
That's a really good point here, right? Like having the quota ready to go, start plugging this stuff in. And the more you pitch, the more comfortable you'll be at doing these multiple things, right? Multitasking. Always remember, guys, that the sale is on the other end of the phone, especially newer agents, because right here, newer agents, when they pull up that quoter, your focus goes there. Your focus goes to the prices that come out, the carriers that come out, the program, the amount that you're going to give them. You'll start putting in 10,000 and then you'll put 20,000 and you'll start looking at prices and you're already like picturing and thinking about which one you're going to say to them. And meanwhile, this person is talking and giving you the literally how you're going to sell them, but you're too busy stuck in the quoter, looking at already quoting. You're getting ahead of the sale is what happens there. And this tends to happen to new agents a lot because again, you're nervous. All you want to do is get the quote and try to get this deal. But it's so important, guys, that you multitask, but don't lose focus on what the person is saying on the other end of the phone. We said this last week, right? You got to hear Jimmy and you got to listen to Jimmy. You got to do them both, right? You can't just do one, because if you do one, you're going to lose the sale. Okay. So very, very important here. I'll say that because this is something that happens to, again, mainly newer agents, where you got this quoter in front of you. You're already counting the dollars that you're going to get from this deal and what you're going to buy from it and all these things, but you're nowhere near closing the deal. So that's very important. Okay. So in here, right, as we go into these questions and then we go health questions or concerns, rapport, likability, factor required, show compassion, sincerely, we need rapport here. Right. This is nothing more than, again, if you're following what I'm telling you to do, then you're already building that rapport. And this should just be part of the conversation here. Okay. So, there's no intro here. Let me see. If no to health concerns, ask height and weight, ask prescriptions, major no, go to payments. Okay. All right. So you just go right into it, right? So now they gave you the answer that they have a payment method. Fantastic. Well, John, let me just go over a few basic questions that I need to go over with you so that we can get to that quote. That's what I would probably say, something here like a transition, right? I'm transitioning into, again, what you want, John, which is the quote. And to get the quote, I need to go here, right? So controlling the conversation. That's what I'm doing. I'm controlling and leading from section to section. So I will give you guys this one here because it's one that really helps in selling a deal, especially in questions here. You guys can choose to use it or not, but I just want to give it to you. So when I get to health questions, I will transition into it and say, hey, great, John, appreciate you giving me that information. Now, let's get to the quote. In order to get there, I'm going to ask you just a series of medical questions that will help us understand your current situation. On a scale from 1 to 10, John, 1 being really bad and 10 being great, how would you grade yourself? And I shut up. Okay? And I do this before I get into these questions. The purpose of it is, again, I want to break down John from his or her thoughts that they should have the best rate possible, even though they have XYZ conditions. So the grading of 1 to 10 makes that person grade themselves and break down the barrier of, well, no, I should qualify for this, or I should get that, or I should get this, right? Because if I say grade yourself from 1 to 10, 1 being not so great, 10 being the best, where would you grade your health? You'll be surprised that nobody says 10, right? Everybody's going to say, well, maybe a 6 or a 7, right? And then my follow-up question to that is always, okay, that's no problem. And what keeps you from being a 10, John? Right? Bam, I just jabbed you in the face. Well, why don't you have a perfect health? And they are going to open up, guys. You're going to hear the person tell you every reason under the sun. Well, 2 years ago, I got diagnosed with diabetes, but I walk 3 miles a day and I'm working at it. And they're going to give you reasoning why they're a 6 or a 7. And in doing so, they are putting themselves in that hole, right? They are putting themselves in the place where they have now broken down the barrier, and they cannot come back to you once you pitch them, right? And say, here's your options. Here's what the price is. They can't go, well, why can't I get this? Or why can't I get, a non-waiting period? Why do I have to get a waiting period? It's a great question, John. Well, if you remember when we talked about your health, you graded yourself as a 6. You remember that, right? And trust me, people won't even go back. They won't ask you at that point, why can't I not get this? Because you've broken that barrier down here. They've graded themselves. They have told you how bad their health is. It's not an assumption. They told you what it is. So if you want to use that, use it. I've used it my entire sales career. When I sold mortgages, I would say, hey, John, on a scale from 1 to 10, where's your credit at? 1 being like a 300 and 10 being like an 800 credit score. Where do you fall? And when I did real estate, the same thing, right? It works for any industry, anything that you're selling. And it's a really good question to ask. You can use it or not. It's no big deal. Either way, the transition goes right into it, right? Great, John. So I'm going to ask you a couple of health questions so we can get to that quote that we're looking for here. What's your height and weight? They answer it. Any tobacco use? And you're just going to go through these things. The only things that I really will stop and talk about are, well, and let me ask you, John, lung disease, COPD, emphysema, asthma, oxygen, or any inhalers? I have lung disease. I have COPD. I might stop and say, gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. My grandma had COPD. And then you keep going, right? Because any opportunity that I can get to connect, I'm gonna latch onto it and I'm gonna grab onto it. Okay. Other than that, again, things like heart attacks. My gosh, I'm so sorry to hear this. My father died of a heart attack. So I completely relate. And I understand why you're doing this, why you want to protect your family today. You see that? I assume the sale. That's called assuming the sale in these questions, which you should start doing as soon as you can. And these are great opportunities to do that. Because when John says, yeah, I had a heart attack, and I relate and I say, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. My father passed from a heart attack a few years ago. I now totally understand, John, why you're looking to protect your family and why you want to get something done today. And I go right over it. I keep talking. I don't stop. I go into, and what about cirrhosis and hepatitis? What I've done is I've dropped the seed in their head that we're going to close today, that you're going to protect your family today, that it makes sense if you had a heart attack 2 years ago, why you want to buy something now, because we never know what can happen tomorrow. Again, you're breaking them down, you're building them up, right? Every one of these opportunities that you can, that is a major disease and they have it, I would latch onto it and relate and use that same answer. Gosh, I totally get why you're looking to protect your family and why we're going to try to get something done for you today, right? Assume the sale, guys. Assume it. And the more they say yes and the more they go with it, sometimes people there, when I say that, might say, well, wait, no, I'm not doing anything today, right? And that's actually what I want, because it's a chance to jab them again, right? I'm going to say, oh, I'm sorry. Gosh, my father died of a heart attack. And I know more than anything that if he knew he was going to have a heart attack, that he probably would have set up some of the things that we ended up having to pay as his kids. So I just often think about that, that, gosh, if you have a heart attack tomorrow and you haven't done this today, then you're kind of leaving your family hanging. But anyway, what about seizures and strokes and lupus, right? I go right over it. I punch you right in the face with it. And I'm going to make you acknowledge that, gosh, well, you had a heart attack. You really are not going to do something today if we can find something for you, right? I'm breaking you down a little bit every step of the way, and every chance I get to jab you, I'm going to jab you. And then I'm going to wipe you down a little bit, right? And I'm going to keep going, right? So you ask all these questions. Same thing here. Okay, I'll give you a good one here for this. So last questions. And this is great that the last question is any felonies in your past, when? Okay. And I think I gave this to these guys. This is why they're using it, right? So this is a question that I've always used and have put it this way. Because if you just ask them for their social security number, especially older people, they're going to go, well, wait, what? What do you need that? No, hang up, click, right? So you have to make the social question a legal one, right? I need to verify that you are a legal resident, that you are a citizen. So I always say, so if I get into these questions and I'm here and I say, what about a filled RX for nitroglycerin in the past 2 years? No. Okay, great. Hey, John, so that completes our medical questions. I'm just going to go over some identity questions that I do need to confirm. They're required by law. Do you have any felonies in your past? No felonies. Great. And are you a U.S. citizen? Yes. What's your social? That's how it just rolls off the tongue, right? It has to roll off the tongue there, right? Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes. What's your social? You don't stop. I wouldn't say have a TIN. I would just, are you a U.S. citizen? And the second they say yes, what's your social, right? And they're going to go 592, and it's going to roll off their tongue because you've made it an identity question. You've made it that by law, you need to get this information. And so it's a really great way to ask the question, just what's your social? I personally would remove TIN. I wouldn't say have a TIN because most of these people don't have a TIN. They don't have that, right? And if they do, it's questionable whether we're going to be able to get them insurance anyway. So I would just go, what's your social? Not what's SSN number, what's your social? Trust me, guys, on this, I do think you should change this because you will get people that'll say, well, why do I need, what's a TIN? No, wait a second, click, right? That's not what you want here. You want to make sure that it just rolls off the tongue and they continue, okay? All right, ask RX from memory if there are any traveling otherwise liabilities. Okay. Shopping price range. Okay, if we know the amount. Right. If we know what their budget is, then obviously we're going to get into this, right? If we know the amount, skip to production level. Most of the time, you're not going to know the amount. You're not going to have a price range here. The way this pitch is rolled out, right? So, John, everyone, see how I say that? Everyone I work with is on a fixed income. So the goal is to find you something that you can actually qualify for and afford. Does that make sense? Right? So here it says, wait. You'll notice that I always say, does that make sense? And I stop. Does that make sense to you guys? Because I need people to acknowledge that they're with me, right? If I just kind of keep blah, 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 then you maybe lost them and you don't know where you lost them. So these are important questions, especially here, because you're about to get into pricing and all that stuff. So you need them to acknowledge that. John, everyone that I work with is on a fixed income. So the goal today, because we're going to close today, the goal today is to find something that you can actually afford and that you can qualify for. Does that make sense? Yes, great. Continue, right? Wait, they have the program sorted in different price ranges, so I need you to tell me. Okay, right. So you're portraying like you're looking at the price ranges. They're in front of you. Perfect. Okay. So they say, yes, that makes sense. Great, John. Well, here's the deal. I'm actually looking at the programs and they're all sorted in different price ranges. So I just need you to kind of tell me what range to start shopping in. Like, give me an idea of what would be affordable for you. What would be something that you know every single month you're going to be able to pay no matter what happens. Because the last thing we want, John, is to get you a great policy and in 6 months you feel like you can't afford it and cancel it. That's the last thing I want. So help me out here. What's a range where we can start shopping? See how I said that? I said the same thing that's on here, but I made it very direct, right? Because this question can be like off-putting to some people, right? Well, wait, no, you tell me what you have for me. That's what most people are going to say there. Well, what do you have? No, you tell me what you have. That's a reaction and an objection that you'll get here. If you personalize it a little bit, right? Connect with them a little bit. Here's what we're going to do next, John. I'm looking at all the options in your state, right? So, and they're all showing up sorted in different price ranges. I don't want to spend so much time going through all of them. What'll be a lot easier, John, is if you kind of tell me, give me a starting point on like, gosh, like what's affordable, right? What would be like affordable to you so that if we get you a great plan today, that you can keep it until the day you die, because that's the point of life insurance. So what's a range? Right now I've explained to you why you need to give me a range versus like, what's a range? And they're going to feel like, well, this is a sales tactic. So what do you have for me? Right? Again, beat them down so you can get what you want out of it. Okay. And most of them are going to say, now don't speak, right? Pausing and silence is your friend in a sale. Not awkward silence, right? Not awkward silence, but stopping in the right moments and not speaking is part of the sales game. Remember that. And there are times where I will say something and just shut up. And I am not going to answer until you do. There is going to be silence for 4 or 5 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds, but you're going to answer, not me. Control, right? Control of the conversation. Very, very important. Okay. Okay. We do not know their price. They said they are price sensitive. Okay. Here, you'll get a price if you ask this question right. Okay. You will get a range if you ask the question right. If you just say, John, they have the program sorted in different price ranges, so I need you to tell me what price range to start shopping in. If you say that, guys, you're never going to have you'll never get a price range from people. Okay. You have to personalize these things, and you have to ask them with a different tone, with a concern, with like, I'm here to help you. So where do we want to start shopping? Okay. No, this is, right. So if they say, well, I don't know, I have no idea. What do you have? This should let you know you don't have this person, right? If they answer this here that way, you do not have this person. This person is not ready to go into a pitch or into a sale, right? Because by now, this person should say, well, I don't want to spend more than $30 a month, or I don't want to spend more than $50 a month, right? If they are not, again, this is a sign that I have not done the work to break this person down and get them to where I need them to be to sell them insurance. Okay. So now you have a rebuttal, but I would argue that at this point, you just haven't set up the sale properly. So there's a good chance you've lost the sale at this point already. That's reality here, guys, right? So you need to acknowledge that and know that this is a sign. If you get here and they don't give you a range, there's more work that needs to be done. And by you overcoming the objection, you can do that, but you also need to start connecting with this person, because the conversation is getting ready to go this way. It's getting ready to you're going to veer off, and the person's going to say, well, I got to go. Just send me the quote. I'll talk to you later. Click. Okay. So, however, we do not have their price. Well, John, now this is just so I know where to start shopping policies for you. Should I start shopping in the range of 100 to 150? Sticker shock, right? That's what that's for, right? Okay, you don't want to tell me? Well, okay, then should we start at like 100, 150? Every single person that buys final expense is going to say, whoa, no, which is the point of that statement. I love it, okay? Because like I said, at this point, you don't have them. What do we do to get them back? You got to shock them with something, because you're losing them at this point if they don't want to give you a price range. You've been too monotone. You've been too survey-ish. It's not going well. So you're going to sticker shock them with this. So again, how I would say it, they say, well, I have no idea. I don't know. What do you have for me? Well, John, look, again, as I mentioned to you, I have access to every single carrier in your area. And I'm just looking at literally like 40, 41, 42. I'll count them, right? 41, 40. It looks like there's like 50 different price ranges here. So what I'm just trying to do is kind of understand where we should start shopping policies for you. And, you know, maybe I could start here. I have one that's at about 100 to 150. Would that work for you? Right? I'm going to jab you real quick one more time and try to get you back in line. Right? Again, if you ask this part properly, I honestly argue that you won't even have to use this. If you follow it properly and you ask the question the way I just proposed it, people will just say, well, you know, let's try 50, or I don't know, let's try here. Great. Now, I know you had some price concerns already. And this next question is just so I know where I should start shopping for you. So should I start shopping in the range of like 80 to 100, right? Again, sticker shock. Even if the person tells me 50, I'm going to hit them with 80 to 100 because I want the reaction. That's what you want here. That's what these two statements are about. They're about reaction, which is important in sales because it lets you understand where you are in the process of closing somebody. Okay. So you would just hit them with this 80 to 100 a month. Need certain, yes, move down to 60 to, right. So if they say, no, whoa, no, that's too high. I just said 50. Okay. Let me look at some of these here. As I said, I have access to all the carriers in your area, and we're looking at every single quote that's available for you right now. It looks like we do have stuff maybe like 60 to 80. Would that be better for you? And what you're doing is you're gauging, right? You're trying to gauge where this person is going to be by asking these questions. That's the purpose of these questions. Again, some people like it, some people don't. You got to make your way through it, okay? 40 to 60, perfect. Okay, let's stop here and questions. Questions.
Yeah. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to jump in first, and then I'll let them ask the questions.
Yeah.
So just for clarity and for context, the way that this price range is designed to work is we're not necessarily asking them, hey, what's the number you want me to start looking? Because guess what? Every single time they answer that, well, what's the cheapest one you got? Like that is always, they're not going to give you $1. Just find the lowest one. They're not going to give any helpful answer there. So I don't necessarily recommend looking for them to give you an answer. That's why it's a very short pause while they're thinking. So we're going to go ahead and throw the numbers out there at them. And actually, Oscar, to the point of the sticker shock, the part that's removed from this and the part that I've heard Tim use, and I don't know if this is, he's added it or removed it or where it is now at this point, but I've heard him use an anchor price point, like the first price that you throw at them. I was like, okay, I'm just kind of taking a look here. The prices of it. Well, I see one here for $400, but I know you probably don't want that one. Okay, got it. So do you want me to go ahead and start here between 100 to 150? And the goal here, the certain yes, I'm always going to ask them at least twice. All right, well, 100, 150 sound good. Some people now hearing the 400, they're like, oh yeah, I can, $100 sounds like, you know, that sounds reasonable, right? But if they answer like, yeah, that sounds fine, that's not a yes. Anything then 100% for sure, absolutely, I can take that, I can afford that, is a no. It may sound like, yeah, that's fine. That's a no. Right. So what you're going to do in that part when you get that kind of an answer is like, okay, so just for clarity, if I'm able to find you a policy that we can qualify you for between that range of 100 and 150 bucks a month, you can absolutely afford that price, correct? Like a clarifying question. If they say no, okay, not a problem. Listen, that's why I shock off all these carriers. How about somewhere in the neighborhood of $80 to $100? Does that sound better? Yes. Okay. So for sure, if I found something in that price, like, and every single time you follow up with that clarifying question, because what you don't want to happen, kind of like the health thing, the other things we mentioned before, the reason why we're asking for it now is because it removes that ammunition for them to use that objection later. Like, I don't know if I could really afford that. Well, no, you told me for sure, without a doubt, that you could absolutely afford this. Like, you know, that's the reason why we cover it here, to remove that objection later down the road.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And look, I'll say this too, just before we go into some questions here on this. You know, I think it goes a long way here when you're asking those ranges, and again, you follow it with, hey, the reason why is the last thing we want is to find you a great policy, and 6 months from now, you realize that you can't afford it, right? And David has a line that he's always used and has always stuck with me, which is the best kind of life insurance is the one that's there when you die, right? And the one that's not is, the one that you
The
can't
one
pay.
that's there, yeah, the one that's there when you die will be the one that's easily affordable for you for every month. So you're telling me 60 to 80 is easily affordable every single month. Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. And we need to add these little nuances we're putting in here because
I think it's important for them to understand that you're not asking them these questions because you're trying to sell them something. You're asking them these questions. Here's the reason, because the last thing that we want is to get you a plan or a policy that in 6 months you actually decide that, gosh, I'm struggling to pay this. I can't, and I cancel it. Now 6 months have gone by, John, and now, God forbid, you got diagnosed with cancer. You had a stroke. You had a heart attack. Guess what? You're not going to be able to get the same plan that we're going through right now. So that's why this is so important. It's about longevity. It's about knowing, John, that the day that you pass, that policy is there for your family to utilize and pay for these expenses. Does that make sense? Yes. Great. What's the price that you can afford, right? We narrow them back into what we have. Okay. Questions on here so far?
Yeah, I got a question, Oscar. How would you handle like an objection for, either probably hear it when in like a why or in this when the potential prospect client says, hey, yeah, I want to get those prices that I saw advertised online. It's like $15 for 50,000, even though I'm 75 with no arms and no legs.
Right. Yeah, literally. That's a really
something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question and very valid. Right now, one thing is, we don't run those creatives, but people are seeing those creatives, right? People are seeing those ads out there, especially on TV, Colonial Penn, right? The $9.95.
And when you're calling them back, they don't know if it's like that's the one that you clicked you're from or from somebody else. Hey, because we're calling them an appointment, but so they're like, oh, is it whose information did I put this out on? Like,
Yep. So I will acknowledge it always, because any objection that somebody gives, I acknowledge it and accept it. And right, I don't say but to people, right? Because if you follow whatever they say with a but, then you're already an aggressor. You're already like clashing with them. So if they say, well, what about what I saw online that said, $15 for 30,000? I'll say, yeah, those are great rates, aren't they? I see those advertised all the time. I'll tell you a little bit about those rates and how they work. Typically, you'll find that companies are promoting the lowest possible rate on the market. Now, does that mean that we all qualify for that? We all qualify, not them, all of us, right? Because I'm like you, I relate. Does that mean that we all qualify for them, John? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Our job and what we're doing here is to determine, can we get you as low a price as possible? Now, the second thing that I'll add to that, John, is unfortunately, there are some carriers out there that will advertise these introductory rates that start off very, very low. And you've seen those on TV, John. You've seen the $9.95, for $10,000 in coverage. By the way, those are rates that increase and change over time. I'll tell you a quick story, John. I had a client a couple days ago, that had taken one of these plans out. They were so excited. They were locked in. It was $9.95 a month. That's what they were told. And then the paperwork came. And then they started reading, and they realized that over the course of the next 10 years, that $9.95 payment will balloon to close to $200 a month, because they're introductory rates. Now, I can assure you today, John, that I don't offer any introductory rates. The only thing that I focus on are fixed rates for life, because the last thing that you want is a payment to change on you 6 months from now, a year from now. We want to make sure that whatever plan you get into today stays fixed for life. Is that what you're looking for? Right? We're off all of that. We're off all of that. We're now focused on the payments fixed for life. We're not going to be looking at adjustable rate stuff. And by the way, whatever the lowest price that's out there, I have access to it for you. Right? So that's typically how I would overcome stuff like that as it comes. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good.
Cool. Yeah. And there's different variations of that, right? Like there's a bunch of different ones, but it's always like accepting it. You can also say things like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? I know, I see those all the time too. The reality is, unfortunately, John, that there's a lot of carriers out there that put these intro rates, and you've seen them on TV because they're advertised all the time. Companies like Colonial Penn and Globe Life. And I have helped so many people, John, that have gotten themselves into binds by getting these policies that seem great, right? Because gosh, who doesn't want to pay $10 for a life insurance policy? Like, sign me up too. But they quickly find out that those rates change, and that over the course of 10 years, John, those payments go up to hundreds of dollars. I don't want that to happen to you, and you're on the phone with somebody that doesn't sell those products. I only focus on fixed products for my clients. I only focus on giving them something that's going to be there till the day that they die, right? We acknowledge it. You accept it. Accept every objection that they give you. Accept, yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I know about that. And here's the lowdown on it. And here's why you should not go that route, right? And relate it to people that you have helped get out of those policies, because nothing is better than case studies or reviews, right? People love that stuff. So when you can relate it and give a case study that someone you just helped that literally went through that, they saw the $10 a month payment, they loved it, they signed up for it, and then they got sticker shocked and got slapped in the face with the changes that policy is going to have over the course of the next 5 or 10 years. Okay. So that's how you overcome that. Other questions so far on this? Everybody's
I have a question.
good. Oh, yes. Here we go. Go for it.
It's before the pricing and all that. When the objection comes, when you ask them, sometimes it comes even later when you are trying to use the emotional part. Who's gonna stuck with the bill, or like, wow, how come you don't have a policy yet? The objection for none of your business. How do you handle that?
Yes. So typically that comes because you're asking the question without emotion, right? The way you're proposing the question is coming off too strong. You're hitting them too hard. So remember, when you ask that question or any variation of those questions, you're triggering them. So if you trigger them too hard, then they're going to hit you back. Well, that's none of your business, right? Because now you've upset them. We don't want to upset them. We want to ask the question in a manner that gets them thinking about it and gets them to tap into the emotional side. So typically when they say that, it's because the question is being asked too cold, right? There isn't enough emotion or feeling behind the question. And it could be that it's like, well, John, why haven't you set something up already? That's a tough one, right? Like, that doesn't sound so good to that person. They're going to say, well, that's none of your business. So work on changing how you deliver the question. So, hey, John, I guess my next, see how I'm repeating words, right? I guess my next question is like, what's kept you from setting something up to protect your family? Right? Mm-hmm. The delivery in that is very different. It's not punch you in the face. It's, hey, I'm really curious and I really want to know why you haven't set something up. Not to make you feel bad, but to understand what your real need is. And sometimes I follow it up, right? Like I'll say, well, John, I guess my next question is like, why maybe you haven't set something up, yet? Is it, and then this is where I'll give them options, right? Is it that maybe like just financially, you just haven't been able to, or is it that you just haven't had the time? Shed some light on this for me so that I can better understand your need to protect your family, right? That sounds very, very different. And you'll find that if you start changing your tone and how you ask the question, people will give you a very different response.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I'll say it's a combination of that and the rapport that you've been able to build from the entire conversation until arriving at that question. If you haven't connected with somebody, if they don't feel like you care about them, we've kind of run on a couple side stories about their health, their condition, their beneficiary, their spouse, whatever it was, where they live, the weather, whatever it is, that's a very hard question just to walk up to a stranger and ask them, because it's assuming like, dude, what the F are you doing is what you're basically is what they're hearing. When it
Correct.
should come from a place of love and care and concern. And if that's not coming across, it's either the way you're asking it, or you haven't built up the rapport or the ability to ask them that question to get an honest answer there. So it could be one or both of those things.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, cool.
Sounds
Oscar,
good. Thank you.
I've actually got to run, my friend. I've got another meeting. I don't know if you can do things on tap. I know we went over.
We made it a long one today, so
Greatly appreciate
there's a lot.
Everybody stuck through the whole thing. So I know that everybody definitely got some massive value out of this presentation. We're looking forward to the next one on the calendar as well. Any kind of final thoughts, anything you want to wrap up with here before we jump off? I don't mean to cut you short, but
No, the next thing is just, next call, we'll finish going through this, right? As you guys can see, there's a lot to cover on these calls, right? And I try to give as much information as I can. So next call, we'll finish the pitch. And then after the following call, I really do want to start getting into call reviews, because that's really where we start learning from each other and what we should and shouldn't be doing. So I look ahead to that. Guys, go have a killer day. Get on the phones. Get on it, man. Push hard, and let's go. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.